Hi guys, so today's video is about how to save money, what are the tricks or what are the ways I save money. I save about 40% of my salary per month, and I kind of save it. I also do a side hustle, a couple of jobs here and there, and then that's how I save a hell of a lot as compared to others. So there are friends who ask me like how I do it, and this is something that comes up in a lot of conversation when you're talking with deep uh, friends or so on and so forth. So here's my 8 ways to for you to be able to save more money, and these are really important ways, and some of these are more controversial, more kind of on the edge line of something that you would not want to do. That's okay, but you can still go ahead and follow some of the other stuff, and that may still help you save at least a significant portion more than what you were or what you are used to saving. So one of the first things that I do is as soon as I get my paycheck, the first thing I do is I do not pay any interest or any financial charges to any banks or any financial institutions. I always make sure I pay my credit card first. That's the first thing. That's a top priority for me. So that's the first thing. I pay all my credit cards as soon as I get a paycheck. I have reminders set on my cell phone, which gives me a reminder 4 or 5 days before, because it usually takes about 4 to 5 days for you to, once you make a payment from your checking account to your credit card, it takes about 4 to 5 days for them to receive the payment. So you need to make sure you have set reminders on your cell phone, which reminds you 4 or 5 days before, and that way you can make a payment so that you don't spend a single penny or single pence or single cent to um, to the credit card companies. Also make sure that if you have an overdraft facility, and sometimes if your account goes into overdraft, it doesn't really matter. You have to make sure that you put back money immediately on your checking account and or savings account. That's the first thing. You do not want to incur any kind of financial charges, interest, and that's the first thing. Second is, once I pay off all my credit cards, I transfer, like in my case, I transfer 30-40% of my paycheck every month into my savings account. But if depending on your paycheck, your other needs, your responsibilities, what we try to make sure is at least 10 to 20% of your remaining balance into your savings account. So that's how, I mean, you got to forget that that money even stays there. That money even stays there. So that's another thing that you have to focus. You just put money into your savings account every single month, forgetting that money that even exists. Now, what do you do with the money in the savings account? That's a completely different topic. We can talk about that later on in later videos. But for now, that's one of the first goals. Once you have significant amount, you can do something about it. But for now, just put money in your savings account. Um, Third, and probably most important thing, when we shop around, Amazon or whatever, you get, depending on what kind of person you are, but definitely this works on everyone. That's the reason there's a way people market themselves, and this is through marketing emails. So you have got to unsubscribe for each and every email that sends you offer. It could be a food offer, it could be a cake, it could be a pizza, Domino's, it could be Pizza Hut, it could be you know absolutely anything. You don't want to spend money just because there's an offer. You want to spend money only when you want to spend money, only on things that you want to spend money on, not because there's an offer and you go ahead and spend the money on thinking that, oh, you might need that 10 months line, 6 months down the line. But unless it's something that's really compelling, and it's okay to miss that offer sometimes, but to go ahead and spend for money and for things that you don't need. And even more important thing is that when you look around your house right now, there's so many stuff that you bought because there was an offer or someone was selling, or you just thought you may need it later on, but you're not using it at this point of time, and it's just sitting there. So it's basically your $20 bill, $30 bill, $40 bill, which has depreciated in value just because you thought it would be useful, and today that could have been sitting in your RSP account making money for you. So it's really important for you to be able to distinguish yourself and make sure you do not spend money on things that were based on offers and emails that you get on a day-to-day basis. The fourth and most important thing is that when I say don't buy stuff, it doesn't mean never buy stuff. You buy stuff, but at the end of the day, you buy stuff that are good quality stuff, even if you may have to spend like 20, 30, 40, $50 more. But I would definitely buy a product which would last me 3 years or 2 years more, by spending $50 more, as opposed to buy something that would maybe help me out for this year or 6 months, and then I have to buy it again just because the product was broken, or maybe I had more repairs on it or whatever. So I would suggest go for long lasting product, some of the branded products. And when I say these, I mean more electronic stuff. Like, let's say if you are buying a laptop, or if you're buying a computer, or any kind of electronic, you want to make sure that you buy a product which is more sustaining, long lasting, as opposed to something that may only last for 6 months or 3 months, and then you end up spending money for repairs, or you spend money for replacing the product. One of the other things that I also recovered, the fifth point here, is that I never buy on sale, because there were a couple of times this happened to me. I bought a jacket in summers, a winter jacket for Canada. I was like, okay, there's definitely going to be cheaper than what it used to be. And then 6 months down the line, it was winters, and then I see that the same jacket that I was wearing, winter jacket, it was selling for the same price. And essentially, I spent there is a time value to money. If you spend too much, the same amount of money 6 months down the line, well, in this case, it was okay, but because it was a cheaper product, it was only $80. But I could have just saved that $80, and maybe down the line, if I would have found something better, I would have just put $30, $40, $50 extra and bought a new jacket. So I think it's really important that you don't go for sale thing unless you know that you see the shop is actually closing. It's they are actually putting out the stuff because they have to sell it out, and you do more research before you see, okay, there's really a sale, or it's just a board that they're sticking it out and saying that it's a sale, but essentially they're selling the product at the same price, and they're in our minds we're thinking that it's a 50% off because it would have been $160 and now it's $80, but it's not. It's $80 and they're selling it for $80. All they're saying is that it was $160, which is not true. And I understand it's their business tactic and it works, but it doesn't mean that you should fall for it. So that's another thing. Next one is really controversial point. It's a 6 point of my presentation today. And this is basically, you should avoid going out with friends who don't contribute same as you do. So everyone is trying to save the money, some money at the end of the day. So you want to make sure that you don't spend money, or you don't hang out with friends who don't contribute in some situation, in some manner. And I understand you may have friends who may be going through a tough time, and that's okay. You can hang out with them, and it's understandable. But let's say, for example, if you have two friends, both work in a bank, you work in a bank and your friend works in a bank as well, and then you end up going out, and more than one occasion you've seen the person going away or stepping away from the table, or not paying the bill or sharing the bill, not even offering to share the bill. Well, you got to make sure that the next time you're hanging out with a friend like that, you don't hang out. It doesn't matter what the official setting is. Either you make it really clear that, okay, this is your time, last time I paid it. And if you want to avoid the controversy, if you want to avoid it, why not avoid the person altogether if it is possible? Do not get deep ends with people like them. They're usually beneficial in terms of learning the tricks, how they do it. But for me, it's too much. I don't do it with anyone else, but I also don't expect anyone else doing it with me. So if someone does it with me, I kind of distance myself from that kind of circle. The next most important thing is, you may think this is kind of cheap tactic, but this is also something that's important, especially if you're a new immigrant, or if you're trying to settle yourself, or if you're just trying to get out of your debt. So when I initially started subscribing to services, what I did is I was sharing my cost with other people. So let's say, for example, there's Netflix. If you have friends who also watch Netflix, why just get one subscription? Get a subscription with 3 other people, and you can just share the cost like that. Or if you're living in a house and you don't want to, you're paying too much rent, or you're living in a room which is basically too much for you, I mean, you can definitely share your room. Depending on your comfort zone, you can share that as well. Again, I know in Canada, in Toronto, there's bus passes. I know people who share their bus passes. They basically pay $75 each. They get a bus pass, and they kind of work there around, or time there, depending on their circumstances. They put it in such a way that it's beneficial for both of them, and not one person is not the only one who's paying for it. So there are a bunch of other things that you can do, stuff like that. I mean, you can share the groceries. You can go to Costco. If you want to become a Costco member, you don't have to, two friends don't have to buy separate membership. One friend can buy a membership, and then both guys can use a benefit out of it. So there are things like this that you can do, and beneficial. I mean, it can be beneficial for you, but it depends if you are that kind of person who want to share stuff with others. But I think it's a really important tactic to save money in the long run. And the last and most important thing is hang out in right circles so that you don't get drawn into unplanned spending. So if you tend to just hang out with people, if you just tend to hang out with people because of emotional reasons, you think, oh, I need friend, oh, I need to hang out, it's a Saturday, it's a Friday, it's a Sunday, but you don't really like them because of certain personality traits, or if maybe they have if they're naturally spender. There are people who spend too much money. They like to live in debt. Stop hanging out with these guys, because even regardless of how frugal you are, or if you think you are frugal, it doesn't matter. The personality or people that you hang around with influence you a lot, and you kind of have to develop a personality in which you do not get drawn into unplanned spending or unplanned expenses. So let's say someone says, oh, let's go to Niagara, let's go to casino, let's play this, let's go to Ajax horse racing, this buy this, let's go to bar. And you have to have your budget, and then what you will find yourself doing is that you're taking money out of your savings account, the 20% that you put, and you were supposed to forget about those, but you don't forget, and you kind of are in debt, or you overspend on your credit card, which is kind of clearly out of your budget, and then you're stressing yourself out at the end of the month. So these are important things that you should remind yourself. It's not just about putting money into RSP or TFSA or savings account. There are different. You have to develop a personality in which you save more money. So I guess that's about it. If you have any questions or concerns, just drop me a like, subscribe to my channel. There will be new videos coming out every week. And if you have any questions, of course, you can just type it down, and I try to get back to you on the same day. Thanks, and have a nice one.